Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of NC-17. My name is Josh, and today we have director and actress with us. We have Dusty Austen and Athena. What's your last name?
Murzda.
Okay, sorry. I should have just went with Dusty and Athena, but
Yeah, that's
That
pretty
works.
common.
how you guys doing today?
Good, doing real good. I
That's
had
good.
a successful editing adventure last night, so that always puts me in a great mood for the next day.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. All right. So there's one movie specifically I really want to talk about, and that's going to be the Beast of Walton Street. But before we get into the entertainment aspect of your guys' lives, like kind of take us back a little bit and just was entertainment what you guys wanted to be in as a child, or did it just happen kind of like randomly?
Yeah, for me, I knew by the age of 3. So, my dad used to take me to the video store like every single Sunday. And we'd rent a bunch of bad, good movies. It didn't matter. If the cover was cool, we picked it. And finally, I'd been bugging and bugging and bugging. I want to watch horror movies. I want to watch horror movies. So you rented me American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah.
And my fate was absolutely sealed. I fell in love with the idea of making monsters because my dad was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's rubber and it's gears and gizmos," and I'm like, "Well, how do they do all that? Like that sounds dope." So I have an affinity for creatures. I still build them for different things. I built the werewolf in Walton Street, and I'll be doing the big bat, the hero bat, and What's Wrong, Wendy. But yeah, yeah, really. Then it just became this process of like deeper and deeper diving into it. You know, my parents were super supportive. I had the first editing qualified machine that Mac made, Final Cut version 1.0. Yeah, I am old. Um,
Well, probably not as old as I am, but I'm 45, so yeah. Don't say your age. That's
nope,
against the
I never
rules.
do. I never do, dude.
Yeah.
Never.
I do.
That's against the rules here. So,
I like that.
oh yeah.
Um, my family grew up, we would watch movies and TV shows all the time. So entertainment was always a big part of our life. That was what we did for family time was go to the movies or sit down in
Hmm.
front of the TV and watch something together as a family. So entertainment was always a big part of my life. But I grew up insanely shy. When I was a kid, I was the kid that sat when you had to do those, you had to read your section of the book. I was the kid that counted the heads in front of me to make sure I knew exactly what part I was reading, and then I would repeat it in my head. So I definitely never saw myself as an actor or even really being in the film industry at all. And when Dusty and I did a web series called Haunted World of CW,
Hmm.
and that was when I first got into any of this. I took over for the old lead of the show, and I became an actress. I guess I always knew that I wanted to do it because when I was younger, when I was really little and I was still playing with dolls and stuff, I would act out scenes or things from books that I had
I
read.
did that.
I would do that with my dolls, so I knew I had an interest in it. I just wasn't confident in myself. And so I took a leap when I did our web series, and I ended up really enjoying it and falling in love with acting, and then after that, the whole process of creating.
Because you both wear many hats in the industry. I mean,
Mm.
director, actress, producer. I mean, I went over all the stuff you guys do, and I'm like, my brain started hurting after like the fifth thing. So,
Yeah, yeah, we are women of many talents. And a lot of that I feel like for me was just like, first off, like curiosity. Like I don't want to hire someone to do the effect. I want to figure out how to do the effect. So that's how I got into VFX, which I do a lot of now. Um, our new movie Fiber Burn has hundreds of VFX shots.
oh yeah.
But it's really just it's kind of that.
Yeah. What am I piggybacking off of?
You know.
Yeah, I mean, doing a lot of stuff, I think, in the indie world, especially, which is where we play, is out of necessity. I mean, until you get like the funding where you can pay people who are professionals to do that and to come on and to help you, it's really just you
Yeah, you're
wearing every hat you can so that you
yeah.
can save money so you can make the thing, you
And
know?
we have a larger team now.
Yes.
You know, because back in the day it was literally, I mean, everybody's been there, right? Everybody tells a story, or every filmmaker, so I won't go deep into it, but I made movies in my backyard with my friends. Everybody says it. I did it too. um and it was just who you could get on a Friday or a Saturday. Which one of your buddies wasn't out getting drunk with some, whoever they were hooking up with.
Yeah.
Now we have a really, really solid, kind of relationships that we've built. So we can go into every project knowing, like, okay, I maybe no have to wear, at least there's a couple less hats. I gotta. And then there's some that I just like, I won't give up. So,
Oh yeah. So kind of take us to the first time you were on a set, and what was your initial feeling? Was you nervous, scared, or was it just, like full of excitement and you were ready to take it out?
I'll let you to go first on that.
Well, my first set would have been the set of our web series. That's the first thing I ever did. That was super low key. That was a lot of friends coming together to make something very creative and unique.
Mhm.
So I was super nervous because I'd never done anything. I never even did theater when I was in high school. So I was definitely very nervous, but everybody there was very welcoming and it was very just a low key like vibe to the set. They were all very nice and very welcoming in it, so it helped me chill out pretty quickly.
Oh,
The
yeah.
first actual set I was on that wasn't mine was, I had a very brief flirtation with being an actor. Because I was all throughout high school. I was a theater kid. I was that bitch that was like, I want every single little statue I can get at these competitions and stuff. And then adulthood came, and I was like, "Eesh, gosh, cameras. Eesh." But I was on Maurice Thomas's movie, hillsoapopera.com. It's very hard to find. It's very, very rare. It's the first set I was ever on. And I remember my first scene was, my character was this kind of crazy loose cannon, very, it was during like the late 90s Tarantino-y type stuff. And I remember it just says like, smokes a lot of weed. And like, I was like freshly like out of high school. Like, this is like 2000, like 1999 or something. And I'm like,
So you read that, you were like, "Oh, I could do that."
I didn't want to do it on set, because I had a pretty strict rule about not being fudged up on set.
Oh, you can
So
cuss on here.
yeah, they thank God, because I swear like a sailor. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Um,
that's okay.
but they gave me this stuff called, and I'll never forget it, wizard smoke. And it was like this like it didn't get you high or anything. But God, honestly, it tasted so bad. I wish I would have gone with the real. It was so freaking terrible. I was like, I don't want this.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
eventually we just did tobacco because I smoked at the time.
oh
So,
yeah. To kind of date myself, when I was in 1999, I was just starting working at the drive-in here in Dearborn. So,
cool. Oh, you're in Dearborn.
well, I'm in Roseville, but I lived in Detroit almost all my life, and then it was like, yeah,
Um,
once me and my wife got married, I told her once we say I do's, we're moving. So we said I do's, and we moved the next day.
nice.
Yeah.
Good
It was-
follow through.
oh yeah. Well, it was either that or yeah, we're not gonna get into that. So let's just say, yeah, it is a co-partnership, but on the same hand, it's also I know where things lie.
Yeah,
So, but enough about me. Sorry.
fine. That's fine. It's a conversation.
Oh, that's very true. Uh, so going from actor to director, was that a transition that had some bumpy, had a bumpy road, or was it like smooth sailing?
No, because I never really wanted to be an actor per se. It was more of it was just a, because I think I had my first video camera when I was like 10. It's this big old lunky VHS thing that like hurt. And they didn't have pads on them back then. They were like, no, learn the pain. So like condition your body. Like, so like I'm pretty sure I probably had one arm that was bigger than the other, like that lady in the water, dude. Um, but like, yeah, so I always really had my eye on directing and effects work. So after that, that's when, I started really trying to cut my teeth on longer, more complicated shorts. Um, I think it was 99, we played our first film festival. So that was really cool. It was the Ohio Independent Film Festival in Cleveland, or Cleveland Independent Film Festival. Sorry, it was 99. It's hazy. Um, but yeah, yeah. So that kind of, and there was a high of sitting with that audience. We made this like this fun kind of Lovecraftian zombie thing. And anytime like the zombie would be after him, the crowd was like yelling at the guy going like, "Don't go in the barn." And I was like, or they would get grossed out when the zombies were munching something. And I was like, I want this. I'm now addicted. And it's like a dopamine hit. I'm still chasing it, right? That's my dragon.
Oh
Is
yeah.
is
uh
not Well, you switched to producer.
Yeah, that question wasn't for me.
Sorry.
yeah, well, I mean, just same question, just as a producer.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really give up acting. I still act. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to get a little bit more into acting actually. But producing is just an entirely different thing. It's something that I feel like you can't really say you love. I mean, I can and I do, but like it's a really hard job. It's just that I'm really good at it. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
it's
it
a lot of
found you.
it found me. I didn't find producing, it found me.
That's
That's
awesome.
very accurate.
Love that.
Yeah. Now I mean, so the independent scene, and call me crazy, but I think like I've said it in a couple of interviews, but Hollywood has kind of came became the B player, while independent has become the A+ player.
I think people are finally, I think they're really tired of, I know this is just so cliche, but I think people are kind of tired of just like going to the theater. You have like three options. Like if you really break it down by genre, you have like three options, especially in your like certain markets. Like the theater where we're at in Ohio, there's a lot of really cool releases. Like to see The Substance, we had to drive an hour.
Mm,
S- that's, I think people are getting frustrated with that. And I also think people just like, um, with home theater systems and giant TVs, I've got like an 85-inch screen. Like, why don't I want to watch in 4K? Why don't I want to watch my stuff that way? Um, but with that kind of mass consumption, I think you're also looking at people like going, okay, I just saw the new releases with like, you know, all of these big names. What else you got? So I think it's an interesting time because, like, I know we hear stories about oversaturation, but at the same time, we have more eyes looking for content more often. Um,
yes.
and it's very easy. Like last night, I watched some crazy freaking like weird robot. This looked like somebody's experiment gone wild. And of course, I found it on Tubi because I'd seen like the major release this week that I really wanted to check out. So I was like, Tubi hit me up, and Tubi did provide, as it always does.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're okay. I can't say we're. I'm a Tubi kind of falsome kind of person when it comes, when it comes to movies. I love horror, but I watch all movies, except for cartoons. I can't watch cartoons. My wife's like, let's watch Disney. I'm like, no.
Can't do the cartoon. See, well, I love anime and I just love creative, very stylish animation. Like I think Arcane is probably the most beautiful animation I've ever seen in my life.
Absolutely.
Nah.
So
Well, I I think that all films minus the cartoons are phenomenal. you know. Like I do watch some anime. Like I was really big fan of High School of the Dead.
Dude,
Mm,
that
yes.
show was awesome. I
Uh,
loved that show.
and then my wife was like, "You should watch Akira." So I was like, "Okay." So I watch Akira. That was good too, you know. But then it was like, I see some other stuff, and I'm like, I don't really need to watch High School DxD. I mean, that's no,
Oh,
that
well, that's a really saturated market anyways. It's very, very tough to find. Like, I mean, they just crank it out. It's insane. I don't know how it maintains the quality level it does. It's the talent in those is nuts. But like I've got my favorite ones that I zero in on. Akira though, that has my heart. Ghost in the Shell, um, Battle Angel Alita, which, movie was dope. So yeah, yeah.
oh yeah.
Sorry, I took us on a side quest there. I do that a lot.
Hey, it's all good. I ain't got nothing but time, so
Cool.
I'm off for the next 2 days, and I don't plan on doing nothing but interviews and playing video games. I have no life. No, but so take us through Grindhouse Massacre.
Oh, that is a name not spoken since that's like mentioning like Anakin Skywalker to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like he's like, no, no, we don't talk about those years, Luke.
One
um,
of
Okay,
her
well, huh?
one of her friends gave me a hat that says Grindhouse Massacre on it, and it was the funniest conversation we've had because I was like, I'm not. She literally was like, "You're not allowed to wear that. Don't fucking wear that."
Okay,
um,
so
in all truth, it was one of those movies that's more of an experiment than a film. And unfortunately, like what you learn making those is that not every experiment needs to escape your hard drive.
very true.
Um, that's what, storage hard drives are for, is to put those, you can strap one on late at night and like giggle at your old shit with your spouse. Um, yeah, that was a really strange experience on that film. And the scene in and it was actually that and a couple of things directly after was really what redirected me to kind of leave the North Ohio film scene for a while because it just didn't like the direction it was going. And that's when I started the Haunted World CW as sort of this meta, sort of cross media, very self-aware mock doc thing.
All right, all right. How about we get right into the meat and potatoes of the show, The Beast of Walton Street, which I really do want to see. So
Oh, hand me the thing. Hand me that. We got this the other day. Our distributor is dope as hell. Not everybody gets one of these, but we were so privileged. Look at this beautiful VHS.
that's
Like,
awesome.
how sick is that? I
That
used
that's
to, I grew up in a video store. Like, we owned one for like God, almost 20 years. So like seeing this was like lovely. I was just like blown away by it. Sorry, I had to share.
It's got
oh
the
no,
writing.
hey, please do. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
they did it up full style, man. I was so happy and proud of that.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, boy, Beast of Walton Street.
So how did you come up with the story? And I know that Athena, you are the main star. So kind of this is a question for both you guys. How did you come up with the story, and how did you receive the story?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, the story was a mix of a few things. Just my bucket list desire to make a werewolf movie. I'd wanted to do that since I was 3. Um, and I'd worked on some other people's like indie werewolf stuff, and I was like, it's time for my baby. And but I was like, I don't want to do something that's the same as everything else because like werewolf movies aren't very common anymore. So it's like I really wanted to do something special and unique. And I saw this documentary about Skid Row and just sort of, the unfortunate situation that's there and sort of like almost this like invisible wall that's up of just like what happens in there stays in there. And I was like, that's terrifying. Anything could be going on. And it really got me thinking about, the unhoused population and thinking about like just so there's a lot of metaphors in this film, but how they get sort of preyed upon or left behind in society.
Mhm.
So that was really the jumping off point. And then I wanted to kind of do it through like I was a, late 90s, so Dimension Films was my, diet, right?
Oh yeah.
So I wanted it to look very much like, a film shot in the late 90s, like The Faculty or, I Know You Did Last Summer, Scream. They all had a very certain look about them. So we really, the DP, Aaron Pignano and I really, really picked apart the images.
All right.
Oh,
Hit it.
how was it received? Very well. I I love everything that Dusty writes. I don't know. I've never read something that you wrote I don't like.
Don't stop,
So
actually. You can keep.
So I've done a little bit of digging around about the film.
Yeah.
There's excessive amounts of blood.
I see. I don't think there's enough. Really? I don't think there's enough. And the dumpster was not full enough. It was supposed to be like triple, like it was supposed to be like up past the knees level of like soakage. But like just because of like the way the dumpster was built and constructed and stuff, it just wasn't happening. We
Uh,
ran out of blood, basically. That's the real story.
I think the reason that she thinks it's not bloody enough is because a lot of the blood actually happened after we wrapped principal, right? So like we shot principal photography and there wasn't a ton of blood, I don't feel like, in principal photography except for the dumpster. Um
Yeah.
and after that we did like a lot of really cool effects with like inserts of the werewolf head getting smashed at the end when it
Hmm.
dies and different things like that. And
Spoiler. The werewolf doesn't die.
sorry.
I'm
You
kidding.
you were talking about the dumpster. I didn't know we were doing a
The
spoiler free.
dumpster.
well, I mean, technically, only way to kill a werewolf is silver. So maybe the werewolf is not dead.
You know what? Maybe there's more than one. So you never know.
Gotta wait for the sequel.
But yeah, we did a lot of the effects afterwards. And so a lot of the blood came post wrap.
And I think just in the effort to sort of emulate, that very signature kind of era of film that I grew up with, they weren't the bloodiest things on the planet. Like, I Know What You Did Last Summer ain't got a lot of blood. Neither does The Faculty, neither does Scream is probably the bloodiest. And even by like later entries in the series, the first one is relatively, not gooey.
Beast of Walton Street is definitely like it's like a pop horror. It's like a fun pop it in and like have fun watching it. It's not like it does have blood for sure. But it's not intensely gory. Like it's not supposed to make you
Yeah.
literally sit there and be like, "Oh my God," and
Yeah,
like
we didn't.
cringe. It's supposed to be a fun movie, you know?
Hence the, because I, growing up, I mean, I came from the punk scene. So like even, having like that soundtrack that we do and that energy, and I grew up loving like Return of the Living Dead. That was one of the movies I showed Athena before we shot this. So like this is like the punk horror film. Um,
Oh, yeah.
so I wanted to bring some of that manic kind of punk energy to Walton Street as much as I could. And then of course, some of the quippy fun dialogue that you see like in everything that was like Scream and onward.
Well, the fact that you mentioned Return of the Living Dead, you are now going to be like one of my lifetime friends. That's my favorite horror movie of all time.
Oh, good. That's a good one. I've seen every entry of the series. I am a fan. Some are not good, but I did meet Alan Chadwick that way. Was actually I had seen Necropolis and I became a fan, followed their work, and I was like, I'll never get to work with them, but I'm gonna put them on my list of like dream people that you get to work with. And then years later, they sent me just out of the blue, they sent me a friend invite on Facebook. And then, like, I don't know, a year or two later, I talked to him about Haunted CW, and we've been working on every project since. So
Uh,
I love that woman.
I'm not going to lie. When I saw 4 and 5, I was like, okay, cool. They're going to be something different because you can't really mimic what you did in back then. But
No,
her acting alone made those movies, and this ain't me playing up to anything, but her acting alone made those movies awesome.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. She's so much fun in them, and the stuff. I still tell jokes to Amy on set. Like I'm like, bring out the flamethrower. you know, like, um, but yeah, unfortunately, those films, I know Billy Butler, his scripts were very different than what was produced. They were freaking amazing. Um, and then I know the director, like I won't talk about it because it's not my story, but he's kind of a strange dude. So it's what it is, and they are what they are. But damn, that first one, Dan O'Bannon like knocked it out the park. And even the second one has its like kooky charm. It's like the one I can watch with my kids.
Oh yeah. Believe it or not, I've actually met a lot of the cast from part one. Uh,
Right.
Obviously, the people who passed I couldn't meet, unfortunately, but that's the acting and the directing that you guys do that draws in a fan. Kind of, it's going to sound very Disney-ish, but it takes us to a different world, you know.
Yeah.
And as a fan, that's what I ask is, like if you can keep me entertained, if you got a good beginning, middle, and end, I'm sold, you know. But when you invent running and talking zombies, okay, you're up there,
Well,
But
that really inspired that, and of course Ginger Snaps, because it's one of the greatest werewolf movies ever made. Um, it's actually one of my favorite films of all time. As if you couldn't tell by watching Walton Street. Um, but yeah, we just wait, what was the where was I going with that? I get so like so wait, repeat that question.
oh no, I was just saying, like as a fan, it's it takes us to a different world, which is pretty much
Yes.
what.
Yeah, that I think is important to do, especially for indie. Um, and to not limit yourself. I've seen a lot of discourse lately about like, oh, don't shoot big. Stay small, stay in your lane. And what I realize is that's other indie filmmakers who are feeling insecure or not enjoying their own experience. So an easy way to kind of keep everybody else in line is to tell them, oh, no, you shouldn't try to do that for your tiny budget and this and that. Build a world. Don't be afraid to. You know what? With Fiberburn, we went off the rails with like rocket chases and world building and all of this kind of cool stuff. And I was like, let's do it. Let's not be afraid to make a big budget looking feature on not a big budget at all.
Uh,
So building the world is you need that, especially with production design. Do not forget to design your sets,
eh.
please.
you know, so when I watch Beast of Walton Street, I will be doing a review of it. So I rate my movies 1 to 10, 10 being best, one being worst.
So we do a
There's not a
preview.
lot of movies that are 5 and below, but there are some.
Okay.
Like the remake of The Crow. We don't.
Didn't. Mm-mm.
Man, that's dead in this house.
Did go and see the re-release of the original though in the theater, and God, it still hits just as hard as ever, man. It really do. It just hit. So okay, your rating. I'm excited. I want to hear this. We're not below 5, are we?
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
Hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, you
Yeah,
haven't even seen it. That's right. That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
It's okay. I'll see it eventually, and when I do, I will rate it.
So
I
this
I can rate the trailer though because I have seen the trailer. I've never rated a
Actually,
trailer, so
what about the trailer? What do you think of the trailer then?
say again.
What do you think of the trailer then? Yeah, rate the trailer.
Well, the trailer, I'm not even gonna lie to you. The trailer is what really made me want to reach out to you because I
cool.
was like, just this little 3 to 4 minute trailer was like, they got something good here, and I want to get my hands on it. So uh,
Yeah.
the trailer alone gets a strong 8, which is
I'll take
good.
it.
Know, if you hit a 5 or below, you're probably gonna hate me, but you'll never. I
I
don't
could
think.
send you. I own a few movies that are 5 and below. I think I worked on a few back in the day too. Like when you're first starting out, like you're like, I need to make money.
Yeah.
So you take some things, or you meet a group of people and they're super great, like you love them to death, and then you see the movie and you're like, they're just not good at that.
Mhm.
But you know what? I think every filmmaker's worked on stuff they're proud of and probably have a couple of skeletons like the famous story of Cameron kind of disowning Piranha 2, that kind of stuff. So, or
yeah,
David Lynch and Dune and that kind of stuff. Are you
yeah.
okay? I said out loud.
It's been fun.
So let's talk about what's wrong with Wendy. I
Yes,
I
please.
I know very little about this film. Very little. I think all I know is the title. But kind of if you could give us a synopsis without spoiling anything, and kind of like what was your thought process coming up with the story and the characters?
Well, that's the great thing is that I didn't have to. That was all Spooky Madison. This is their baby through and through. And they sent me the short version of the script. It was just meant as a short. And I was like, yeah, this is dope. I want more though. Like the way you end this, I was like, I want to know everything that happens after. I was like, what happens after? They're like, well, I have ideas and I kind of have a road map. And then I finally they asked me so generously and kindly. It's the biggest compliment ever to direct the short. And I said, well, I've been thinking that's like the biggest honor ever. Thank you. I really want to do right by this story and do right by you, just as, a collaborator and a friend. Let's do this as what's the future look like? So they went off and just turned in this fun, incredible piece of work that I fell in love with and just wanted to preserve as much as I can. So really it's the fun challenge about directing Wendy is that it's not my script. And it's the first time I've ever directed something that wasn't. Um, but I just fell so in love with it and I want to really preserve their vision and really make it the most spooky Addison movie that isn't actually directed by Spooky.
To give you insight into where their head was at when they wrote it, the cover page says, "What's wrong, Wendy?" with a little bat. And below that, in parentheses, it says, "Based on the Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan fiction I wrote in high school." So, there you
It's
go.
great.
That's
I like
awesome.
that was a hook for me. I love still to this day we do a yearly rewatch of Buffy. That's like part of the holy like trinity in our house. Um, but yeah, really it came from there is just, Spooky's love for genre and of, early 2000s horror, Jennifer's Body, Ginger Snaps, and then obviously Buffy. And just early horror television, well, not early horror television. Horror television's been around since forever. You go back to old episodes, Twilight Zone, but like what we grew up with, which was sort of that boom in the late 90s and early 2000s of like very teen centric and very focused TV shows that were very fun and empowering and pushed boundaries. Because, that's one thing with us is inclusion is a
Yes,
must.
yes. So side note, I own the entire series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. My favorite episode is Once More with Filling.
Okay. All right. Oh, wait, we got to do the round table now. Favorite Buffy episodes.
No, I don't. That's too much.
Too much
I
pressure.
can't do that. You can say yours.
Man, like I'm gonna go for obviously I think the pilot is just cracking television. But darn it, there's something special about season 6, and it's the Double Meat Palace episode. It's so stupid. I love that episode so much. The subplot of Buffy getting a job and seeing her in that environment, like wearing her little burger hat, eating a burger like on her break. I was like, I really like what they're doing here, even though that it's one of the kind of the comedy episodes. It was the first time you really thought about like Slayers don't get paid.
That's true.
Um, and it was fun. It was fun. I always liked Buffy had such a unique, special kind of humor. That's so hard to duplicate. We call it Buffy speak, obviously. Um, and there's a little bit of Buffy speak in everything that I write, and definitely in what Spooky writes as well.
Oh, yeah. Uh, Speaking of Spooky, I actually reached out to her to see if she'd come on the show.
Oh, they go by they, them.
They, them, sorry.
Yep.
So I'm actually, I think I'm still waiting for a response, but it's cool. Hey, I can only send out the invite. It is entirely up to you guys to accept it or not. So, yeah.
Their inbox and message requests are insane. So
Oh yeah.
Good game.
Yeah.
So let's talk fiber burn.
Actually, okay. Pop quiz. You're a horror guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is actually the screen used sweater from Fiberburn. I wore it just for today. This is the one that Spooky wore for weeks on end. But this little guy here on the front, what
Hmm.
movie is it from? 80s robot, classic director.
Deadly friend.
Bam. Nailed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
Pass the
It's
quiz.
the evil BB in the reshot ending that looks ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
It's
That
always a
movie changed my life because
yeah.
I stopped playing basketball once I saw what she did. I was like, fuck that.
God, I
Just being honest
still
with you guys.
that's another one of those I love the novel too. The novel's called Friend. It's very different, but they carry the same basic beats. I still want to see the Wes Craven, like I guess there's a director's cut of Deadly Friend that's like in an archive somewhere. It's probably sitting next to the original version of Cursed.
Yeah.
But yeah, Deadly Friend is very special to me, and I always hide this little dude in everything. Even I did a comic book with my cousin Aaron, and this little dude was on the shirt. I always put it on character shirts. So
Is he in Beast of Walton Street?
I don't think he made it into Walton Street.
Uh oh.
Oh,
Now you got to make a sequel just and put him in there.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So with fiber burn, would you say this is probably your most extreme movie you've done, or would you say that it's kind of leading up to something that you're probably going to do later on?
Both.
Uh,
um, Fiber Burn was born out of a really deep love of Richard Stanley's Hardware, Tank Girl, all those like 90s like freaking like sort of post-apocalyptic crazy grunge MTV era filmmaking. Um but then the early 2000s, sort of drug cinema that included like Train Spotting, Requiem for a Dream, we cite a lot. And then came the new French Extremity, which was where Fiberburn really was born. Um, I was a big fan. Still, one of my favorite movies of all time is Inside, the French version. Martyrs, Frontiers, High Tension. You got your holy quadrilogy there.
oh yeah.
Um, and I really wanted to bring that attitude because all of those films are very, very violent. And
Hmm.
they tackle some really deep things. And I was going through a lot when I wrote the film. So I thought the French Extremity kind of lens was the way for me to sort of face the stuff I wanted to talk about. And I'm obsessed with like AI and tech and stuff. But really, what I'm most obsessed with is just human characters and even what it means to be, human. So I played with a lot of the darker stuff too on this one. But it's big, it's loud, it's jam packed full about everything you could ever want from a sci-fi horror film, plus some.
Where
Yeah.
Beast of Walton Street is poppy and fun and not meant to make you go like, "Oh my god." This one is meant to make you go, "Oh my
Mm.
god."
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I let my wife watch Beast, but not this one because if it's oh my god, she's like, oh hell no. So,
Yeah, this one goes hard.
This one was very hard.
oh
I
yeah,
really that one of the main films I sent it to everybody to watch before we shot was Inside because I was like, man, this
Yeah.
movie takes place in this one friggin' house, which in Fiberburn they're trapped in an apartment complex. Because I love apartment horror.
oh
Like I'll
yeah.
go back to like Demons too, right? Like
Oh,
every
I love you. That movie is a Hall of Fame movie for me. Like one and two, I'm weird. I rate
yeah,
every movie 1 to 10, but I have a Hall of Fame, and there's like certain movies that Demons 2, Return of the Living Dead, The Shining, Scarface, which I know is not horror, but all those are in my Hall of Fame.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely one of those. It's a Hall of Famer. You look like you had words. Darn.
Actually, Athena, what's it like going from being kind of like a reserved, not into the movie kind of thing, and then once you started getting your footing into the door, and well, you're fully fledged into the door now because I think you're the main star of the Beast of Walton Street. Uh, what's your life like in the movies right now compared to what you was maybe 5 years ago?
You get
Yeah,
paid.
that's great. Get paid now. Sometimes if it's our own stuff, sometimes I just forgo it. Anyway, yeah, I'm way more confident now. So, acting, like how I said I was a shy kid and everything, that's very true. And then acting honestly helped me so much come out of
Mhm.
my shell and find who I was as a person. Constance Wilmington is the character that I play in the web series, which was the first thing I ever did. She's also the character that I play in The Beast of Fulton Street.
Mhm.
And she did so much for me. She is very near and dear to my heart. Because she taught me how to act, and because it's like the first character I'd ever done,
And
right?
for so long.
Yes. Because it's like the first character I'd ever done as well, I didn't really know yet how to create something I had never experienced before. So a lot of Constance is me. It's just parts of myself that are exaggerated or bigger than larger than life for the screen and things like that. And as I built out her character for like how long, like 7 years,
Yeah.
there is so much of just me in her.
It is that's one of the fun things I love about watching you play Constance is the fact that I know that there's so much Athena in Constance and so much Constance in Athena. They're really like it's not like you could ever have somebody else in my eyes ever play that role because like it's literally so like symbiotic with the person.
They're very intertwined, but she really helped me find myself as I kind of grew up from like being an early 20-year-old to who I am now. And Yeah, I owe a lot to her. And now I am at a much different place, acting wise. I'm a lot more confident as a person and as an actor. I feel
Mhm.
like I've tackled more roles and more different like mental spaces. Um, and so
Yeah,
yeah.
fiber burn
Yeah.
was a really big change for you.
Yeah, Fiberburn was the first. So when I did Beast of Fulton Street and when I did Haunted World of CW, I wasn't comfy like screaming. Like that was one of my things. I'm like,
Couldn't scream.
I don't know how to scream. I don't know how to cry. I don't know how to do big emotions like that, and I'm not confident that I can pull it off. So like we need to be creative about how we do those scenes. Um, and in Fiberburn, I cry and I scream and I die. So um
It's the and that I think
yeah.
that's the first time I've ever killed Athena, like on screen. So it was like a little unsettling that day. Like, I won't say how they die, obviously, but
I'm so bad about
it's
spoilers.
very
Oh, you're good.
bloody.
You're good. You can
It's
spoil the
very
hell out of it, and I'm still gonna watch it.
oh no. We have a couple embargoes of certain plot points that we won't release, but yeah, no. Charlie, she gets
You're fine with them knowing I bite it.
yeah,
Cool.
because I think it
Awesome.
leads to a good conversation, you know, like
Apparently you shouldn't put me in interviews.
You're our Tom Holland.
I am Tom Hollanding this right now.
Here's the ending of Avengers. Um, yeah, it would be weird to see anybody play Constance, and I never would want that ever. And I think that's something that I think one of the things that I that our team does really well is like, and I think any director should do, if you have actors you trust, right? If you really trust your actor, do not be afraid to give them the role. And I don't mean just hire them. I mean, there's a certain point during production where your actor knows more about the character than you. Um, it was evident working on the haunted CW stuff and Beast of Walton Street, and then when we did Fiberburn, it was very clear that like Spooky knew more about Becca than I did. Um, so much so actually that we co-directed the thing together. Um, it and we're co-editing and we co-wrote it together as a team. And I think it gave Fiberburn that little extra um like kick that it needed on like the character and emotional beats and stuff. So
Oh,
we found a nice balance between sort of the drama of the piece and the breakneck like violence or set pieces because there is a rocket race at the beginning.
oh yeah. Uh, so what does the future hold for the directing style that you have?
Well, really, I'm one of those directors that I like to try different stuff. I remember saying years ago, I think this was when I was a kid, that I wanted to work in every like subgenre of horror. Um, and then like at least direct each of the main creatures once, right? Which is like the loftiest goal ever. Of
Yeah.
course, because you're like 14 and be like, I want to direct everything. Um, but I want to direct everything. Um, but like if like my top of the dream list is definitely I would love to do an Evil Dead movie. Um, I would kill a man to do not literally, that's a joke. Haha. um, to
Like how you
do
said that's a joke.
to do an Evil Dead film. That's a dream. Or even just like God, I would love to do an Alien film. Um, but really, I'm doing what I want to do now, which is so work with really talented people. We team up with Final Rule Films that Spooky runs all the time. And we're just always trying to make each thing a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, or just a little more out there, or it's whatever we kind of want to focus on at the time because I don't want to ever be stuck in one facet of the genre, but I do enjoy and want to stay in the genre.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm kind of a horror gal. I would suck at like just like a plain drama about like a court battle, like I couldn't do that film. But if there was a creature that lived in the courthouse, I could do that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well, I mean, the good thing about that is you know what you're comfortable with, you know what you want to do, and you're doing it. You know.
And I really love robots and werewolves the most. I want to revisit those frequently. Fiberburn was conceived as a universe, a multi-part thing, so and a cross-media thing. So I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, that I feel like there's so many people that use horror as like they look down on it and they use it as like a quick cash grab or something like that. I think it's good that passionate people who are passionate about horror and genuinely want to make quality horror,
Mhm.
um, want to do horror
Horror has
films.
a lot to say too. It's the only genre where you can kind of really get away with um social commentary worn on the sleeve. It goes back to Romero, right? Romero really, but even before Romero, you go back to freaking written text. Carmilla was about, repressed sexuality, and so was Dracula, just through a different lens. And I think horror has always been topical and really that's why I always get mad when they're like, oh, another horror movie about a metaphor. It's like they've always been metaphors, dude.
Yeah, I feel very passionately about the fact that a lot of people I think look down on horror as just being like some like just slashers and people wanting to see violence for fun. And I feel really strongly that horror is the smartest, when done correctly, the smartest genre of any of them.
I think some of the most talented writers working are working in horror. And that's why I fell in love with spooky stuff. They're literally my favorite writer now. Like I love everything that they publish. Um, so it's like, but I wouldn't have found that voice otherwise.
Oh yeah.
um, because horror afforded them and us and, the people we love working with a space to also feel accepted and safe and secure being weird, being
Yeah.
the weird kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, um, horror. I love horror directors too, because it's the most like diverse, um, like cast of people you could ever imagine, You've
Oh yeah.
got You've got like Stanley and Blumkamp that are from South Africa. You've got Neil, you got Lee Cronin that came from Ireland. Sam Raimi's from Michigan. Um,
Mhm.
they're all over, and Canada has such a cool horror scene. By the way, going back to Cronenberg and Fawcett that did Ginger Snaps and stuff. Karen Walton, I think her script for, which is actually fun fact, the Beast of Walton Street is actually a fangirl title, because Karen Walton wrote Ginger Snaps. and it is my favorite screenplay ever written. That and The Road Warrior.
Road Warrior was an excellent movie.
Oh God, it's such a great, it's a great read too. I've learned a lot from reading George Miller scripts.
Uh, uh, the fact that you guys are passionate about what you do makes
Mhm.
me more excited to see the product you guys are going to be putting out, especially the Walton Beast of Walton Street. But it's a respect to you guys because you guys are out there, you're hustling and doing what you need to do to make sure that you guys are one putting out awesome material, two doing what you love, and three and probably the most important one, not giving a damn what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, there's a line where you start thinking about everybody has that moment, right? Like I think where they're like, okay, I would like people to see my film. I would like people to see my work. Do I sanitize it to some degree to get more eyes on it? And I'm not crazy about that. I think Fiberburn was the antithesis of that idea.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think Wendy continues that tradition, just again through a different lens. It's very bloody. There's crazy creatures. Of course, everything we do is very based in sapphic romances. Because again, representation matters. I want to see strong female relationships and characters in our films. So
Yeah. Well, originally I went to college for marketing,
mhm.
and one of the things that I really took from that for filmmaking is that, like when you try to make something for everyone, you make something for no one. So, my goal in the films that we make and the things that we are attached to is that those things are authentic and genuine to what they are, and they do what they want to do to like the largest extent they can, because you not every it's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone is going to like it, but the people who get it and the people who do like it, they're truly going to connect with it as long as you make something authentic and genuine.
Mhm.
So
I agree with that.
that's my
Definitely.
goal with anything that we do, really.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, same. I think authenticity is something that's important, and not to be afraid of your own voice.
Yeah.
Um, which I sometimes I get scared of. I think every writer or creator, artist does. But if you're one of those people who do have that, find a great support system. Find the other artists that are like you, that when you're stuck, you can message them at 3 a.m. and be like, dude, I'm stuck here. What do I do? And I have that with Athena. I have that with Spooky. I have that with, a few other of my cousin Aaron, who is also a great director in their own right. So I'm just surrounded by these amazing creative people. And sometimes, like, when you're feeling bad about it, or like you read a bad review, um, I have these such a wealth of talent around me, inspiring me, and we're all rooting for each other. That's the thing we don't ever forget is you should never ever be jealous of anyone. You should just be rooting for them,
oh, yeah,
because
yeah,
that's you'll keep your sanity longer, and it just puts so much back out into the world.
oh yeah. Uh, Before we go any further, so I don't I know that you've seen on my Facebook that I've written a script.
I did, yes.
Yeah. And you know how every horror movie has a final girl?
Hmm.
Well, mine
Hmm.
has two final girls, but I'm not going to ruin anything. But I will say that it took me 2 years to actually get more back into kind of getting finishing it.
Hmm.
Because originally it was going to be a short, and I've never written
Oh, yeah.
anything. I've never directed. I mean, like this is my first foray into anything. But I take inspiration from you guys. So it's the fact that you guys are out there and you're doing what you're doing. It's like, damn, I've been sitting on this thing for 2 years, but now I'm going the extra mile, and I already got part two written in my head, and
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
damn, now it's going to be a part three. So I'm doing, hopefully, going to do a trilogy. But
Nice. Nice.
I will say that the women in at least my story are forefront almost through the entire thing.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. And that's another thing that horror does exceptionally well. Um, they let the girls kind of lead the films. If you really break down how many horror films have, male antagonists or female antagonists, it's one of the only genres that's skewed more towards, there being more female leads. The problem is we're still not seeing as many female directors that we went to. I'm a huge fan of, the old school ones, Mary Lambert, Rachel Talalay. Love Rachel Talalay. And then, we have a lot of new school ones. We had The Substance this year. We've had, these really great sort of feminist horror films, but I'm just not seeing enough actual female voices. Karen Kasama, who did Jennifer's Body, and also helped develop the Yellow Jackets. So hopefully we'll see more going forward because I think horror is pretty much a woman's playland.
Yeah.
I'm gonna agree with you 100%. Yeah. Uh, we're kind of getting near the end of the show, so I'm
Mm.
gonna give you guys the floor. Plug whatever you want to plug, whether it be social medias, if you want people to reach out to you or not. That's entirely up to you. Where they go watch your movies, buy your movies, or just anything you want to plug.
Cool, cool. Athena, you want to start?
Sure. All of my socials are at Athena Murzda. You can follow me on any of those. I know that our our business one for Street Rat is at Street Rat Studios. Uh, at Street Rat Studios Film,
Mm-hmm.
correct? And that's our handle for everything. That's where we post all of our news about upcoming movies and everything. We're most active on
Yeah, I'm a
Instagram.
big Insta girl.
Yep.
I don't really
Um,
Facebook some.
we're currently crowdfunding still, although it's going to end soon for What's Wrong Wendy. So if you want to get involved in that, obviously there's an Indiegogo there. On
Mm-hmm.
all of our socials, it's plastered, so
And
you
it's
can
been
find it.
amazing. Gosh, the people that we've met through that campaign and just like the support and everything. And plus, like, Spooky designed such a beautiful, like, because a lot of times you go on Indiegogo and like the campaigns are just these willy-nilly things just thrown at you. They created such a beautiful looking campaign. I'm like, I want to preserve the campaign at some point, just as like this really cool, like, art piece, the way it flows.
They're very
They're
talented,
very
the
talented.
Indiegogos. And then past that, Beast of Walton Street. It's out on Blu-ray and
Mhm.
VHS. And you can buy it on Scream Team Releasing, and it'll be on streaming soon.
Yep, yep. I know they're working on the streaming version. So that'll open up, I think, with VOD, and then the final lap. Then I think is your streaming services.
I'm definitely gonna have to get the VHS now too. Uh, I love VHS. I own way too many of them, but I love VHS. I mean, I even got Beta. So
Oh, dude, I used to have a whole beta collection. Um, and my band that I was in for years, we were named Bigger Than Beta because I was like only video nerds will realize that beta was a failure. As a format. So I was like, oh, the irony. This is, we're edgy. We're 1999.
Thick.
uh,
Um, but it was fun. It was fun. But yeah, I'm on Instagram only through the Street Rat Studios film account. Um, anything you want to ask me or know from any of us, you can go there. Obviously, we work with Final Ghoul Films. They're right on Insta. And then the Goodbye Ghoul is Spooky's handle as well. Especially, with any kind of fiber burn Wendy questions, like definitely hit them up. They can deep dive with you. Um, but yeah, yeah, that's I think, and yeah, Scream Team releasing, and um, we're looking forward to bringing some pretty wild movies out in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to them. I can guarantee you that.
And you should check out any early stuff on Aaron Pignano's It Needs Eyes. It's my favorite indie movie that's about to come out. I
Yeah.
I got to see a rough cut. Um, It's my favorite, by far, one of my favorite indie films of the last like 10 years. I think it's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
reminds me of old creepypastas.
And
okay.
and like old J horror, they're like Pulse and The Ring and that kind of stuff. It
Mhm.
really echoes back to that in a really, really cool way. So does Fiberburn. We mixed a little bit of J horror in there. Because I'm especially obsessed with like old, like analog based, the curse passes through the tape and the curse passes through this or that, anything in J horror like, the grudge, it was just like they were angry. So now you are cursed. Um, so yeah.
Uh, uh, question: have you guys seen that movie, The Sickness?
I haven't seen that one.
Wait. Was that the Rage one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I was not a huge fan.
No.
Uh, I think the filmmaking on Play was great. I think it was an interesting concept because like how terrifying is that? But it didn't hit all my sweet spots. Um, it's just one of those films that just didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I need to like, who knows? Maybe it was the mood. Maybe I like eat too much popcorn and needed to go home. I don't know.
I just love violence. Yeah. Uh, I'm going to give you guys the floor for a couple minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about and kind of give advice to people who are trying to get into the industry and stuff like that. And, just to, you guys have earned it. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Athena, is there anything you want to say kind of with an open forum?
To get about getting into the industry, I mean, our big thing is just do it. Whatever you want to do the thing. If it's I mean, start obviously with something that doesn't cost a ton of money because you don't want to waste a ton of money
Mhm.
and have a terrible experience as your first experience, but like getting anything you can under your belt, shoot it on an iPhone. You don't need a ton of fancy equipment anymore
Mm,
to break into the industry. It's just that you need
mm,
something to show someone. So even if it's, just like your idea with your friends and you shoot it on an iPhone and edit it yourself and it's not very good, it's a start. So I think the scariest thing for a writer is a blank page. It's the same thing with a filmmaker. The
mhm.
scariest thing is starting, and the big thing that you have to do is just jump over that hurdle and do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, and I think to kind of expand on that, I think it's important that you do like learn during
Mhm.
that period. Even if you're shooting with your iPhone, okay, well, you have footage now.
Yeah.
You can put it in the computer, and there's so many resources that, back, when I first started, we didn't have. Like when I'm doing VFX, like last night I was doing light trails, like sort of like Tron style light trails. And I was like, okay, where do I start? Um, and I took a lot of, I was able to look in tutorials. I actually ended up using none of them and I just did my own thing. But learn, like everything's there. And a lot of the tools, like people think, oh, it's too expensive for me. I can't do it. Um, DaVinci's free. And most of yes, there is the bigger version, but everything you need to make a film is in that free version. Unreal Engine, free. Um, it's really the only thing really holding you back on those two pieces of software are yourself. So don't hold yourself back. You have the tools. Fight.
Uh, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Dusty, Athena, you guys have been awesome.
Thank
You've been
you.
true rock stars. And on this show, everyone's included. I don't
Thank
care who
you.
you are, everyone's included. And I tell everybody that once you've been on NC-17, you got a home with us. You're more than welcome to come back anytime, whether it be to plug something, talk movies, or to say, Josh, you got a booger on your nose. So
I will do
I,
all of the above.
well, I clean it out every day, so we'll just talk about the first two.
Oh, you might get the magic boogie. You get the dangler.
As long as I got a napkin, I'll always make it dance.
That's a closing statement there. I love that.
All right, you guys have been awesome, and I thank you for coming on. And I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Awesome. Thanks for supporting us. Check out the Wendy Indiegogo, and we look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. All right, everybody, until next time, stay NC-17.
All right. Enjoy your weekend.
You too.